Did you guys watch that crazy ass interview last night on 60 Minutes with President Biden? It was crazy. I mean, literally, there were so many pieces of that 20-minute interview where I was like, what the hell is happening? Am I in a bizarro world?
Yes, many pieces of it were trending. Now, we can't show it to you because 60 Minutes is very particular about who uses their content, but we can talk to you about it and tell you that it was a very strange thing. Now, as a journalist, I had a lot of problems with the softball questions that were lobbed at him by Scott Pelley from 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
One of which was just sort of a blatant, like he asked, how do you work across the aisle? You used to be able to do this, right? When you were a young senator. But back then, the problem was the other guy might have bad ideas, the other side, meaning Republicans have bad ideas, but you were able to get past it as a Democratic senator. But he's like, now the other guy across the aisle doesn't have bad ideas. He's a bad person.
Right.
And I was like, is that what we're saying now as journalists? I don't think that's Scott Pelley's place to label the entire Republican Party as bad people.
Well, he watched the MAGA speech in Philadelphia last week in front of the V for Vendetta wall, the red wall, and he probably thought, okay, MAGA, everything MAGA is bad. So, as a CBS journalist,
I guess that's what he felt like he had to do.
You're in the tank for it.
I mean, that is journalism school 101 of what not to do. He also was just kind. He called Hunter Biden like his lightning rod for controversy. Not that he's ever done anything wrong, right?
Yeah.
He completely just let him off the hook with any connections in Ukraine. He's like, well, a Republican investigation said that, the vice president at the time did no wrongdoing. So that's okay. Like it's nothing, but it will become something.
You know what? Yeah. You know what was my biggest issue is saying that he was going to send us to war in Taiwan. So that was to me a much bigger story, than all of this. Is like he's literally ready to say we're going to defend Taiwan in a war.
But in the middle of the piece, they said he said this. We followed up with the State Department. And they said, no, our policy hasn't changed.
No, they called 60. So he says, yes, we would send men and women into war in Taiwan.
Yes.
To defend Taiwan against China, right? And he says we have a one China policy. So you're recognizing that Taiwan is China, and yet you would send American men and women to die to defend Taiwan, while at the same time, then a few minutes later, Scott Pelley says, yes, as soon as we were done with the interview, we received a phone call from the White House basically walking back the story.
Yes. As soon as he walked off the set, they called and said, he didn't really mean that. He meant it, but he didn't mean it.
It was just Joe being Joe, demented Joe once again.
Which, again, about his mental capacity, he's asked about it and said, what do you say to people? You're turning 80 this year. What do you say to people who say this is a concern? And he's like, watch me. And he does it with this sort of narcissistic, watch me. You just watch me.
Get his sunglasses on. Watch me. I'm Joe Biden. Just watch me. Just watch me. I mean,
what's hilarious about it is we have been watching you, and these concerns persist.
I got it. Why do I have sunglasses up here?
It's a good question. What other props? Do you have a boa?
I'm like Carrot Top. I'm the prop. I've got all sorts of props. I've got a chicken. I've got a rubber chicken. You want to see? It was just crazy. So we can't show you any of the clips from CBS because they copyright and the whole thing. But anyway.
He further said a couple of other things because this is top of mind, and I was just yelling at my screen today. Okay. The pandemic's over. So if you are still being punished for not following any rules, don't worry. You can just play that. You know what you should do is clip it on your phone and show it to whoever gives you any crap about not following whatever rules and be like, no, the president said.
Oh yeah, New York City, David, didn't
people got their jobs back yesterday or today?
Yeah, no, that's not the case. But didn't yesterday, literally in New York City, a whole bunch of people got fired for not getting the vaccine? Yesterday.
I don't know about that, but he said the pandemic's over.
I guess they didn't get the memo up there in New York City.
He must have said it later in the day.
All the teachers, yeah.
And finally, he was pushed on how long we're going to stay in Ukraine. He said, is Ukraine winning? Scott Pelley asked the president, is Ukraine winning because you are however many trillions over budget? How long are you going to stay in there? And he's like, as long as it takes. As long as it takes. And then he said, well, is Ukraine winning? And he goes, well, with our support, Ukraine is now not losing. So that's comforting.
It's a ringing endorsement. We got them. We got them.
Right.
We're taking care of them. They're not. What did he say? They're not.
Bada bing,
we're not
bada boom.
We got them. We got them.